So Everscroll was added to HardOps as a way to expand on the ability for users to recall their cutters primarily using bool scroll and to roll through their modifiers using modifier scroll. Modifier scroll is one of my favorite ways to just kind of roll back through the process and troubleshoot and find out where things fell. There's a large road ahead for it as far as where I want to take modifier scroll, but the first step of it was of course remaking it, which is the form that you see now. But just letting you know that it's one of the many ways you can get in and quickly access your booleans. Just jump into Everscroll and you can just scroll through and just quickly access whatever boolean is that you need, with the alternative being that you can press Alt W, switch over to Hops tool, and just hold Control and just hover over in an area, and it'll highlight using dots all the particular cutters that populate an area depending on the type of workflow you're using. However, new to this version of HardOps is the ability to auto scroll, which means that if we were to say shift click Everscroll to jump into modifiers, we can now press shift and space and it will begin playing back the modifiers automatically. And this can be a lot easier for whenever you're wanting to, say, make a GIF and post it to Twitter like I'm one to do. I will just start recording the screen and just let this play, and there will be a little timer even letting you know kind of how it's going. So in a way, the timer works as a profiler. I plan to have it more implemented into the lower area at a later time, but for now I have been enjoying having it just sit up on screen, allowing me to kind of read through the modifiers and the speeds that they're being scrolled through to just kind of troubleshoot and see, hey, here's where exact starts breaking down the stack and making things a lot slower. Cool thing about this is I could press shift tab to jump over to a different scroll. Like for example, I can jump over to children and it will just scroll through all the children. I could shift tab, jump over to bool scroll, and it will just process all the booleans. I could shift tab, jump back over to modifier scroll, and it'll process all the modifiers. And now when I jump, it makes more sense versus before. In fact, I'll just slide in using the space mouse, and we can just see it scrolling through all the different children, and we can even have it automatically scroll through all the booleans. So this is just an interesting way to just let your work automatically play back in the event that you're using a modifier based workflow. But that's pretty much it. We just wanted to add the ability to auto scroll. It's been on the whiteboard for months, and I'm happy to announce that it's finally been added to HardOps. And now as a user, you'll be able to get in and just automatically scroll through your modifiers without even having to press a single key afterwards. Give your middle mouse button a rest. So in addition to what we were talking about with auto scroll, you can press Control K to bring up the HardOps preferences. And over in the properties area, there's a preference where you can set your auto scroll time. I've set mine to the lowest possible time. However, you can set it to something like 0.25 if you want your auto scroll to take place a little bit longer. The interesting thing about auto scroll is that it takes place independent of your timeline. So this scene actually has an animation going. And so if we were to shift click Everscroll and press shift spacebar to allow it to play back, we can actually see this animation play back while scrolling through the modifiers in an automatic fashion, which does make it slow down just a little bit more because we're adding a little bit more overhead. But it's just a really interesting way to look at and present your models in an interactive fashion. So I hope you and other users are able to get in and find some enjoyment out of auto scroll.